The knock on Adam Ellis's door came just after midnight on the coldest January night Montana had seen in a decade, and when he opened it to find a woman collapsed in the snow with blue lips and ice in her hair, he knew his life would never be the same. He did not hesitate. Adam scooped her into his arms and carried her inside, kicking the door shut against the howling wind that had been battering his ranch house for 3 days straight. The woman was unconscious, her body frighteningly cold against his chest as he laid her near the fireplace and began working quickly to save her life. He stripped away her frozen outer garments with practiced efficiency, his hands steady despite the shock of finding another human being on his doorstep in the middle of nowhere. The ranch sat 15 miles outside Lewiston, Montana, far enough from civilization that visitors were rare even in good weather. In a blizzard like this, they were unheard of. Adam wrapped the woman in every blanket he owned and built up the fire until the room felt like a furnace. He rubbed her hands and feet carefully, trying to restore circulation without causing damage to the frozen tissue. Her face was young and delicate, framed by long dark hair that was slowly thawing in the warmth. It took nearly an hour before her eyelids fluttered. Adam sat back on his heels, watching as consciousness slowly returned. Her eyes opened, revealing irises the color of honey, and she stared at him in confusion and fear. "You are safe," Adam said quietly. His voice was rough from disuse. He lived alone and sometimes went weeks without speaking to another soul. "I am not going to hurt you. You were freezing on my doorstep." The woman tried to sit up but fell back weakly. Her teeth began to chatter as feeling returned to her body. "Where am I?" "My ranch." 15 miles north of Lewiston. Adam stood and moved to the kitchen area, pouring hot coffee from the pot he always kept on the stove. "Can you tell me your name?" She hesitated, watching him warily as he returned with the steaming mug. "Olivia," she said finally. "Olivia Jensen. Adam Ellis." He held out the coffee, and after a moment she took it with shaking hands. "What were you doing out there? Nobody travels in weather like this." Olivia took a careful sip of the coffee, closing her eyes as the warmth spread through her. When she opened them again, there was a hardness there that had not been present before. "I was running." Adam waited, but she did not elaborate. He could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes kept darting to the door as if expecting it to burst open at any moment. He had seen that kind of fear before, during his years as a lawman down in Wyoming Territory. That was another lifetime ago, before he had come to Montana seeking solitude and silence. "You are welcome to stay until the storm passes," Adam said. "I have a spare room. Nobody is going to bother you here." "Why would you help me?" Olivia asked, suspicion evident in her voice. "You do not know anything about me." Adam considered the question. It was a fair one. In the 5 years since he had bought this ranch and retreated from the world, he had made a point of keeping to himself. He had been content in his solitude, or at least he had convinced himself he was content. But looking at this woman who had literally fallen onto his doorstep, he felt something stir inside him that he thought had died long ago. "Because you need help," he said simply, "and because it is the right thing to do." Olivia studied his face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Thank you." The storm continued through the night and into the next day. Adam gave Olivia his bedroom and took the small spare room for himself, insisting despite her protests. She was still weak from her ordeal, and he could see the exhaustion in every line of her body. He made her eat soup and bread, watching to make sure she finished it all before she retired to sleep. By morning, the wind had died down slightly, though snow continued to fall in thick sheets. Adam rose early as always and tended to his animals, fighting his way through waist-deep drifts to reach the barn where his horses and handful of cattle waited. It took twice as long as usual to feed and water them all, and by the time he made it back to the house, his beard was crusted with ice, and his fingers numb despite his heavy gloves. Olivia was awake, standing by the window and looking out at the white expanse. She had found her clothes now dry and dressed herself. She turned when he entered, and Adam saw her eyes widen at his snow-covered appearance. "You should sit by the fire," she said, hurrying over. "You look frozen through." "I am fine," Adam said, but he allowed her to help him out of his coat. Her hands were gentle as she brushed snow from his shoulders, and he was acutely aware of her nearness. Up close, he could see that she was probably in her mid-20s, maybe 7 or 8 years younger than himself. There was a fading bruise on her left cheek that her hair mostly covered. Olivia followed his gaze and touched her face self-consciously. "It is nothing. Who were you running from?" Adam asked quietly. She turned away, wrapping her arms around herself. For a moment he thought she would not answer, but then the words came out in a rush. "His name is Marcus Thornton. He owns the saloon in Lewiston, along with half the other buildings in town. We were supposed to be married." "Supposed to be?" He said he loved me. Olivia's voice was bitter. "He courted me for 6 months, brought me flowers and pretty words. My father died last year, and I had no other family, no money. When Marcus asked me to marry him, I thought it was the answer to my prayers. I did not find out until after I agreed what kind of man he really was." Adam waited silently, giving her space to continue. "He has a temper," Olivia said quietly. "A bad one. Before the wedding, he would apologize after, bring me gifts, promise it would never happen again. But it kept happening, and the violence kept getting worse. 3 nights ago, he hit me so hard I thought he broke my jaw. I knew if I married him, he would eventually kill me. So you ran. I took a horse from his stable and rode out of town. I did not have a plan, just knew I needed to get away. But I am not an experienced rider, and in the storm, the horse threw me. I walked for hours before I found your house." She turned to face him, tears glistening in her eyes. "He will come looking for me. Marcus does not like losing things he considers his property." Adam felt a cold anger settle in his chest. He had dealt with men like Marcus Thornton before, men who believed their money and power gave them the right to hurt others. "Let him come," he said. "This is my property, and you are under my protection now." "You do not understand," Olivia said desperately. "He has men who work for him, dangerous men. I cannot ask you to risk yourself for a stranger." "You are not asking. I am offering." Adam moved to stand in front of her, and the intensity in his dark eyes made her catch her breath. "I meant what I said last night. You are safe here." Something passed between them in that moment, a connection neither of them could name. Olivia nodded slowly, a single tear escaping down her cheek. "I do not know how to repay you." "You do not need to repay anything," Adam said gently. He had a sudden, overwhelming urge to brush away that tear, but he kept his hands at his sides. "Now, are you hungry? I am a decent cook when I put my mind to it." A small smile crossed Olivia's face, the first he had seen from her. "I could eat." They fell into an easy routine over the next few days as the storm gradually wore itself out. Adam continued his work around the ranch while Olivia helped with cooking and cleaning, insisting she needed to earn her keep despite his protests. He found himself looking forward to coming back to the house, to the warm meals and warmer conversation waiting for him. Olivia had a sharp wit and a quick laugh once she relaxed enough to show it. She told him about growing up in Missouri, about her father who had been a schoolteacher and instilled in her a love of reading. She had come to Montana Territory 2 years ago with her father, seeking a fresh start after her mother's death. When her father passed away from pneumonia, she had been left alone in a harsh land with no resources and few options. Adam found himself sharing things he had not spoken about in years. He told her about his time as a deputy marshal in Wyoming, about the violence and corruption he had witnessed that eventually drove him to leave law enforcement behind. He told her about buying this ranch with his savings, about his dream of building something peaceful and good far from the darkness of his past work. "You ever regret it?" Olivia asked one evening as they sat by the fire after supper. Leaving that life behind, Adam considered the question. "Sometimes I wonder if I was running away rather than toward something, but mostly no, I do not regret it. The work was necessary, but it was eating away at my soul. I saw too much death, too much cruelty. I needed to be somewhere clean." "I understand that," Olivia said softly. "Wanting to escape from darkness." He looked at her, at the firelight dancing across her face, and felt his heart clench in his chest. She was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. There was a strength in her that called to something deep inside him, a resilience that had survived despite everything she had endured. He was falling for her, he realized. Falling hard and fast in a way he had never experienced before. The realization terrified him. Adam had always been a solitary man, content with his own company. He had never let himself get close to anyone, always keeping the world at arm's length. But Olivia was breaking through his defenses without even trying, just by being herself. On the 6th day after Olivia's arrival, the storm finally ended. Adam woke to sunshine and went outside to assess the damage. The snow was nearly 4 feet deep in places, and it would take days of hard work to dig out properly. But the sky was clear and brilliantly blue, and the air had that crisp, clean quality that only comes after a major storm. When he returned to the house, he found Olivia standing by the window again, but this time her posture was tense with worry. "The storm is over," she said without turning around. "Marcus will come now." "Maybe he will not," Adam said, though he did not believe it. Men like Marcus Thornton did not give up easily, especially when their pride was wounded. "And if he does, we will deal with it." "I should leave," Olivia said suddenly, spinning to face him. "I should go before I bring trouble down on you. You have been nothing but kind to me, and I am repaying you by putting you in danger." "Where would you go?" Adam asked reasonably. "You have no money, no horse, and we are 15 miles from anywhere in the middle of winter." "I will figure something out, I always do, or you could stay." The words were out before Adam could stop them. "Not just until you figure something out. Stay permanently. Stay with me." Olivia stared at him, her honey-colored eyes wide with shock. "What are you saying?" Adam took a deep breath. He was not good with words, never had been, but he needed to try, needed to make her understand what was in his heart. "I am saying that these past few days with you here have been the best I have had in 5 years. I am saying that when I think about you leaving, it feels like someone is tearing out my insides. I am saying that I care about you, Olivia, more than I have any right to after such a short time. And I am asking you to give me a chance to prove that not all men are like Marcus Thornton." "Adam," Olivia whispered, and he could see tears forming in her eyes again. "I care about you too, but I am scared. I am scared of trusting again, scared of making another mistake. And I am scared of what Marcus will do if he finds me. Then let me protect you. Let me stand between you and anyone who would hurt you." Adam crossed the room to stand before her, and this time he did reach out, gently cupping her unbruised cheek in his calloused hand. "I am not asking you to marry me tomorrow or even to share my bed. I am just asking you not to leave. Stay and let us see what this could become." Olivia leaned into his touch, closing her eyes. When she opened them again, there was a determination there that made Adam's breath catch. "Yes," she said simply. "I will stay." He pulled her into his arms then, holding her close as relief washed over him. She fit against him perfectly, her head tucked under his chin, and Adam felt something inside him that had been frozen for years begin to thaw. He did not know what the future would bring, but for the first time since coming to Montana, he felt like he had something worth fighting for. They did not have long to wait. 2 days after the storm ended, Adam was working in the barn when he heard the sound of horses approaching. He grabbed his rifle and moved to the barn door, watching as 5 men on horseback came riding up the snow-covered trail to his house. Leading them was a man in an expensive coat and hat who could only be Marcus Thornton. Adam stepped out into the yard, rifle held casually but ready. "That is far enough," he called out when the riders were still 20 yards away. "State your business." Marcus pulled his horse to a stop, his men fanning out behind him. He was a handsome man in his early 30s with cold blue eyes and a cruel mouth. "I am looking for someone," he said smoothly. "A young woman, dark hair, about this tall." He held up a hand to indicate Olivia's height. "She stole a horse from me a week ago. Her name is Olivia Jensen." "I know who you are, Thornton," Adam said flatly, "and I know you are no simple horse theft you are interested in." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "So she is here. I want her back. She is my fiancée and she belongs with me." "Nobody belongs to anyone," Adam said, "and the lady does not wish to return with you." "The lady does not have a choice in the matter." Marcus's voice hardened. "She agreed to marry me and she will honor that agreement. Now send her out or I will come in and get her myself." "I would advise against that." Adam shifted the rifle slightly, just enough to make his point clear. "Miss Jensen is under my protection. She says you have been violent with her and I believe her. She is staying here." One of Marcus's men, a rough-looking character with a scar across his nose, spat into the snow. "You are just one man, Ellis. There are 5 of us. You really want to die over some woman you barely know?" Before Adam could respond, the door to the house opened and Olivia stepped out. She had Adam's spare coat wrapped around her shoulders and his old revolver in her hand, pointed steadily at Marcus. "I am not going anywhere with you," she said clearly. "You do not own me, Marcus. Our engagement is over." "Olivia, darling," Marcus said, his voice dripping with false sweetness, "you are upset. You are not thinking clearly. Come home and we can discuss this properly." "I am thinking more clearly than I have in months," Olivia replied. "I see you for what you really are now. You are a bully and a coward who hits women because you cannot control your temper. I would rather die than marry you." Marcus's facade cracked, rage twisting his features. "You ungrateful little witch. I gave you everything. I saved you from poverty and ruin, and this is how you repay me." "You did not save me from anything," Olivia said. "You just tried to trap me in a different kind of prison." "Enough of this," the scarred man growled, reaching for his gun. The crack of Adam's rifle split the air and the man's hat went flying from his head. Everyone froze. "The next one goes between your eyes," Adam said calmly, already working the lever action to chamber another round. "Now all of you are going to ride out of here nice and peaceful, and you are going to forget Miss Jensen exists." Marcus stared at Adam with pure hatred in his eyes. "You are making a serious mistake, Ellis. I have influence in this territory. I can make life very difficult for you." "You can try," Adam said. "But I was a deputy marshal for 8 years and I still have friends who wear badges. You want to make this a legal matter, we can do that. I am sure a judge would be real interested in hearing about how you have been beating a woman who was under your care." For a long moment, the tension was thick enough to cut. Adam kept his rifle trained on the scarred man while watching Marcus from the corner of his eye. Olivia stood firm on the porch, the revolver never wavering. The other 3 men looked uncertain, clearly not eager to test Adam's marksmanship. Finally, Marcus pulled his horse around. "This is not over," he said coldly. You are going to regret this, both of you. Move along, Adam said. And do not come back. They watched as Marcus and his men rode away, disappearing back down the trail. Adam did not lower his rifle until they were completely out of sight. Only then did he turn to Olivia, who was shaking now that the confrontation was over. He climbed the porch steps and gently took the revolver from her hands, setting both guns aside before pulling her into his arms. "You did good," he murmured into her hair. "You were so brave." "I was terrified," Olivia admitted, her voice muffled against his chest. "But I meant what I said. I would rather die than go back to him." "You will not have to do either," Adam promised. "He knows now that you are not alone, that you have someone willing to fight for you. That will make him think twice." But even as he said the words, Adam knew Marcus Thornton was not the type to give up so easily. The man's pride had been wounded in front of his employees, and that was a dangerous thing. They would need to be careful. Over the following weeks, Adam taught Olivia how to shoot properly, how to handle both a rifle and a revolver with confidence. They practiced every day until she could hit a target reliably at 20 yards. He also taught her to ride better, giving her lessons on his gentlest mare until she could stay in the saddle even at a gallop. "Why are you doing all this?" Olivia asked one afternoon as they walked back from the practice range Adam had set up behind the barn. "Teaching me to protect myself, I mean. Because I will not always be there when you need help," Adam said honestly. "I want to know that you can take care of yourself if something happens to me." "Nothing is going to happen to you," Olivia said firmly, but he could hear the fear underlying her words. "Probably not," Adam agreed. "But it makes me feel better knowing you have skills beyond cooking and cleaning. Though I will admit, your cooking is far better than mine ever was." Olivia laughed, the sound warming him from the inside out. She laughed more easily now, smiled more often. The hunted look had faded from her eyes, replaced by something softer and more peaceful. Living on the ranch agreed with her, and Adam could not imagine his life without her in it anymore. They had fallen into a comfortable domesticity that felt more real than any relationship Adam had experienced before. They worked side by side during the day, ate meals together, spent evenings reading by the fire or playing cards. Adam had moved his few belongings into the spare room permanently, giving Olivia the larger bedroom without question. Some nights they talked until the fire burned low, sharing stories and dreams and fears. Other nights they sat in comfortable silence, just enjoying each other's presence. But Adam had not tried to kiss her or push for anything physical beyond the occasional hug. He could feel the attraction between them growing stronger every day, but he was determined to let Olivia set the pace. She had been through too much, needed time to heal and learn to trust again. He would wait as long as it took. Spring came early that year, the snow melting rapidly as temperatures climbed. Adam was busy from dawn to dusk with ranch work, repairing fences damaged by winter storms and preparing fields for planting. Olivia helped where she could, learning the rhythms of ranch life with the same determination she brought to everything else. One warm afternoon in late March, Adam was working on fixing a section of fence when he heard a horse approaching. He straightened, reaching instinctively for the rifle he now kept close at all times, but relaxed when he recognized the rider. It was Sheriff Tom Beckett from Lewiston, a grizzled old lawman Adam had befriended during his occasional trips to town. "Tom," Adam called out, setting down his tools and walking over. "What brings you out this way?" Tom dismounted with a grunt, his joints clearly bothering him. He was in his 60s and had been talking about retirement for years. "Thought I would ride out and give you a warning, Adam. Marcus Thornton has been making noise in town about you and Miss Jensen." Adam's expression hardened. What kind of noise? Saying you kidnapped her, that you are holding her against her will. He has been trying to get me to ride out here with a posse and bring her back. Tom spat into the dirt. I told him he was full of manure, but he has been talking to some of the other businessmen in town, stirring up trouble. Some folks are starting to listen. Is he planning something? Cannot say for sure, but I would not put it past him. Marcus Thornton is not used to being told no, and from what I hear, you embarrassed him pretty good in front of his men. Tom looked toward the house where Olivia had appeared on the porch. That the lady in question? It is. You want to ask her yourself if she is being held against her will. Tom nodded and they walked over to the house together. Olivia came down the steps to meet them and Adam made introductions. Olivia, this is Sheriff Tom Beckett from Lewiston. He has some concerns he would like to discuss with you. Miss Jensen, Tom said politely, removing his hat. I apologize for the intrusion, but I need to ask you straight out. Are you here of your own free will? Absolutely, Olivia said without hesitation. Adam saved my life, Sheriff. He has been nothing but respectful and kind. I am here because I want to be, not because I am being forced. Tom studied her face carefully. And what about your relationship with Marcus Thornton? There is no relationship, Olivia said firmly. I broke off our engagement because he was violent with me. I ran away to escape him, and I have no intention of ever going back. Would you be willing to make a statement to that effect? Something official I can use if Thornton keeps pushing this. I would be happy to, Olivia said. Whatever you need. Tom pulled out a small notebook and took down Olivia's statement, having her describe the abuse she had suffered in detail. By the time she finished, the old sheriff's face was grim. This is ugly business, he said. I wish you had come to me sooner, Miss Jensen. I was scared, Olivia admitted. Marcus has a lot of influence in Lewiston. I did not think anyone would believe me over him. Well, I believe you, Tom said firmly. And I am going to make sure this gets filed properly. If Thornton tries anything else, legal or otherwise, we will have documentation of his past behavior. He turned to Adam. You watch yourself, son, and keep that rifle close. After the sheriff left, Adam and Olivia stood together on the porch watching him ride away. Do you think Marcus will try something? Olivia asked quietly. I do not know, Adam admitted, but Tom is right. We need to be careful. That night, Adam had trouble sleeping. He lay in his narrow bed in the spare room, listening to the night sounds of the ranch and thinking about Olivia in the next room. He thought about Marcus Thornton and the threat he represented. But mostly he thought about how much his life had changed in the 3 months since he had opened his door to find a freezing stranger on his doorstep. He had been existing before Olivia arrived, going through the motions of living without really feeling anything. Now every day felt full of possibility, every moment richer and more vibrant because she was part of it. He was not just surviving anymore. For the first time in years, he was actually living. The attack came on a moonless night in early April. Adam woke to the smell of smoke and was on his feet instantly, grabbing his rifle and boots. He burst out of his room just as Olivia emerged from hers, coughing as smoke began to fill the house. Fire, Adam shouted. Get outside now. They ran for the front door, but stopped short when Adam saw the flames. Someone had piled brush against the walls of the house and set it ablaze. The fire was still small but growing rapidly. Through the windows, Adam could see figures moving in the darkness outside. Back door, he said urgently, grabbing Olivia's hand and pulling her through the smoke-filled house. They made it to the kitchen just as the back door crashed open and 2 men burst in. Adam recognized them as part of Marcus's crew from his earlier visit. Adam did not hesitate. He swung his rifle like a club, catching the first man across the jaw and sending him sprawling. The second man lunged at him, and they crashed into the kitchen table, breaking it into pieces. Adam felt a fist connect with his ribs, driving the air from his lungs, but he managed to bring his knee up hard into his attacker's gut. Olivia screamed, and Adam looked up to see a third man coming through the door, heading straight for her. She tried to run, but the man caught her by the arm. Without thinking, Adam grabbed the cast iron skillet from the stove and hurled it at the man's head. It connected with a solid thunk, and the man released Olivia and staggered backward. "The window," Adam gasped, struggling to his feet. The smoke was getting thicker, the heat from the fire intense. They had maybe a minute before the whole place went up. Olivia did not argue. She grabbed a chair and smashed it through the kitchen window, clearing away the glass with the chair leg. Adam boosted her up and through, then followed, feeling hands grab at his boots as he scrambled out. They landed in the dirt on the side of the house and ran, putting distance between themselves and the burning building. They made it to the barn, and Adam grabbed his rifle from where he had dropped it, checking quickly to make sure it was still loaded. He could hear shouting from the house, could see more figures silhouetted against the flames. "How many?" he asked Olivia. "I saw at least 5, she panted, her face smudged with soot. "Maybe more." Adam did a quick count of the horses in the barn. His 2 and Olivia's mare were all accounted for. "Stay here," he told her. "If anyone comes through that door who is not me, shoot them." "Where are you going to end this?" Adam's voice was cold and hard, the voice of the lawman he used to be. He moved to the side door of the barn and slipped out into the darkness, using every bit of cover as he circled around toward the front of the house. The fire had engulfed most of the structure now, flames reaching high into the night sky. By its light, Adam could see Marcus Thornton standing well back from the heat, watching his handiwork with satisfaction. 4 of his men were with him, all armed. Adam stepped out of the shadows, rifle leveled. "That is far enough, Thornton." Marcus spun around, his eyes going wide with surprise and then narrowing with rage. "You are supposed to be dead." "Sorry to disappoint you," Adam said. "Now tell your men to drop their weapons or I start shooting." "You are outnumbered, Ellis, 5 to 1. You cannot win this." "Maybe not," Adam agreed. "But I guarantee you will be the first one I kill. Is that what you want?" For a moment, nobody moved. Then a voice called out from the darkness behind Adam. "Make that 5 to 2, Thornton." Sheriff Tom Beckett emerged from the shadows, his own rifle trained on Marcus's men. "I had a feeling you might try something like this," Tom said. "So I have been keeping watch. Now, I have a posse of 6 men surrounding this property right now, and they are all sworn deputies with authority to use deadly force. You and your boys are going to drop those guns real slow, or we are going to have ourselves a bloodbath." Adam could see the calculation in Marcus's eyes, weighing his options. Then, slowly, Marcus reached for his gun. "You ruined everything," he snarled, his hand closing on the grip. "If I cannot have her, nobody will." 2 rifles cracked simultaneously. Marcus Thornton fell backward into the dirt and did not move again. His men threw down their weapons immediately, hands reaching for the sky. "Anyone else feeling stupid tonight?" Tom called out. When no one responded, he whistled, and men began emerging from various hiding spots around the property. "Get them tied up and ready for transport back to town. And somebody get a bucket brigade going on that fire before it spreads to the barn." Adam lowered his rifle, suddenly feeling the weight of exhaustion settle over him. He turned and walked back toward the barn where Olivia was waiting. She ran to him, throwing herself into his arms, and he held her tight as she sobbed against his chest. "It is over," he murmured into her hair. "It is finally over." They watched from a safe distance as men worked to contain the fire, but the house was a total loss. Everything Adam owned had been inside, all his possessions reduced to ash and charred timber. He should have felt devastated, but instead, he felt oddly free. It was just stuff, just things. What mattered was that Olivia was safe, that they were both alive. Tom came over after things were under control, his weathered face showing concern. "You got a place to stay tonight. We will make do in the barn," Adam said. "It is not the first time I have slept there." "Nonsense," Tom said. "I know a widow in town who rents rooms. You can stay there while you figure out what comes next." He hesitated. "About Thornton. It was a clean shoot, Adam. He was drawing on you and I saw it clear. But there will still need to be an inquest." "I understand," Adam said. He felt no guilt about Marcus Thornton's death. The man had tried to kill them both, had terrorized Olivia and destroyed Adam's home. The world was a better place without him in it. They rode into Lewiston as the sun was coming up, tired and filthy and smelling of smoke. The widow Tom had mentioned, a kind-faced woman named Mrs. Sarah Porter, took one look at them and immediately began fussing, drawing baths and producing clean clothes and hot food seemingly out of nowhere. Adam and Olivia were given separate rooms, but after Mrs. Porter retired for the night, Adam heard a soft knock on his door. He opened it to find Olivia standing there in a borrowed nightgown, her hair loose around her shoulders. "I cannot sleep," she said softly. "Every time I close my eyes, I see the fire. I smell the smoke. I just need to know you are really here, really safe." "Come here," Adam said gently, opening his arms. She walked into his embrace and he held her close, feeling her heartbeat against his chest. They stood like that for a long moment, just breathing together, taking comfort in each other's presence. "I keep thinking about what almost happened," Olivia whispered. "If you had not woken up when you did, if Sheriff Beckett had not been watching, we would both be dead. Marcus would have won. But we did wake up and Tom was watching and Marcus did not win," Adam said firmly. He pulled back slightly so he could look into her eyes. "We survived, Olivia, and now we get to decide what comes next." "What do you want to come next?" she asked, searching his face. Adam took a deep breath. "I want to rebuild the house. I want to make the ranch work, build something good and lasting. And I want you to be part of it, not just as someone under my protection, but as my partner in every way. I love you, Olivia. I think I have loved you since that first night when you opened your eyes and looked at me. I know it is fast. I know we have not known each other long, but I am certain of this. You are what I have been missing my whole life." Tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks, but she was smiling. "I love you too," she said. "I did not think I would ever be able to trust a man again, let alone love one, but you are different from anyone I have ever known. You are good and kind and strong, and you make me feel safe in a way I never have before. Yes, Adam, yes to all of it." He kissed her then, softly at first and then with growing passion. She kissed him back with equal fervor, her hands coming up to tangle in his hair. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adam rested his forehead against hers. "Marry me," he said. "Not because you need protection or security, but because we love each other and want to build a life together." "Yes," Olivia said simply. 1,000 times yes. They were married a week later in a simple ceremony at the church in Lewiston. Mrs. Porter stood as witness, along with Sheriff Tom and a few other townspeople who had befriended them. Olivia wore a simple blue dress that Mrs. Porter had helped her buy, and Adam wore his best shirt and pants, his hair freshly cut and beard neatly trimmed. As Adam slipped the simple gold band onto Olivia's finger and heard the preacher pronounce them husband and wife, he felt a completeness settle over him that he had never experienced before. This woman standing beside him, her hand in his, was his future, his purpose, his reason for being. She had walked into his life out of a blizzard, and she had changed everything. Their kiss as husband and wife was tender and sweet, full of promise for the future. When they pulled apart, both were smiling, and there were tears of happiness in Olivia's eyes. The inquest into Marcus Thornton's death was held 2 days after the wedding. Adam and Tom both testified about the events of that night, describing Marcus's attack on the ranch and his attempt to draw his weapon. The coroner ruled it a justified shooting, and the case was closed. Marcus's estate went to a cousin back east, who immediately sold the saloon and other properties in Lewiston. With the money from the land where his house had stood, and some savings he had kept in the bank in town, Adam began rebuilding. This time, Olivia was involved in every decision, helping to design a house that would be truly theirs. They made it larger than the original, with a proper kitchen and multiple bedrooms for the family they hoped to have someday. The work was hard and slow, but Adam did not mind. Every nail he hammered, every board he placed, was building toward their future together. Olivia worked alongside him when she could, and in the evenings they would sit together and plan and dream about what their life would be like. They stayed with Mrs. Porter during the construction, and the older woman developed a real fondness for them both. She had lost her own husband years before and had no children, and she seemed to take joy in mothering Olivia and feeding Adam enormous meals to keep his strength up for the building work. By late summer, the house was complete. It was not fancy, but it was solid and well built, with glass windows and a stone fireplace and a wide front porch perfect for sitting on cool evenings. Adam carried Olivia over the threshold on their first night there, both of them laughing like children. They made love for the first time in their own bed that night, taking their time to explore and learn each other. Adam was gentle with Olivia, mindful of her past trauma, but she was an eager and passionate partner. When they finally came together, it felt like the most natural thing in the world, two halves of a whole finally united. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the moonlight streaming through the window, Olivia's head on Adam's chest as he stroked her hair. "Are you happy?" he asked softly. "Happier than I ever imagined I could be," Olivia replied. She propped herself up on one elbow to look at him. "Sometimes I cannot believe this is real, that I get to have this life with you." "It is real," Adam assured her, pulling her down for a kiss, "and it is just the beginning." The ranch prospered over the next few years. Adam expanded his herd and brought in help during the busy seasons. He proved to have a good head for business, making smart decisions about breeding and sales that increased their profits steadily. Olivia started a large garden and learned to preserve food for the winter. She also began teaching reading and basic arithmetic to some of the neighboring children whose families lived too far from Lewiston to attend school regularly. Adam often found himself stopping in the middle of his work just to watch Olivia, marveling at the fact that she was his wife. She had brought light and warmth into his life, had given him a reason to build and plan for the future instead of just existing day to day. The loneliness that had defined his existence before she arrived had completely vanished. In the spring of their 3rd year of marriage, Olivia told Adam she was pregnant. He was overjoyed, picking her up and spinning her around despite her laughing protests to be careful. They spent hours talking about names and making plans, converting one of the spare bedrooms into a nursery. Olivia's pregnancy was not easy. She was sick for the first few months and had to be careful not to overdo things. Adam hovered over her constantly, driving her crazy with his protectiveness, even as she appreciated the depth of his concern. Mrs. Porter came to stay with them for the last month before the baby was due, helping with the household tasks that had become difficult for Olivia. Their son was born on a cold November night, arriving quickly after a relatively short labor. Adam was present for the birth, holding Olivia's hand and murmuring encouragement as Mrs. Porter and the doctor they had brought from town helped deliver the baby. When he heard his son's first cry, Adam felt tears stream down his face. They named him Thomas Adam Ellis, after Sheriff Tom who had helped save their lives, with Adam's name as a middle name. Little Tommy was a healthy baby with a strong set of lungs and his mother's honey-colored eyes. Adam was instantly, completely in love. Watching Olivia with their son did something to Adam's heart that he could not quite describe. She was such a natural mother, patient and loving and attentive. Seeing her nurse Tommy, or sing him to sleep, or just hold him close filled Adam with a contentment so profound. It sometimes brought him to tears. Tommy grew into a bright, energetic toddler who loved following his father around the ranch and helping with whatever work was being done, whether he was actually helping or not. Adam was endlessly patient with him, teaching him about the animals and the land with the same care Olivia's father had shown teaching her to read. When Tommy was 3, Olivia became pregnant again. This time, the pregnancy was easier, and she did not have to restrict her activities as much. Their daughter, Emma Grace Ellis, arrived on a warm summer evening, smaller than her brother had been but just as healthy. She had Adam's dark hair and Olivia's delicate features, and both parents were instantly smitten. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. The ranch continued to prosper, and Adam's reputation for fair dealing and quality stock spread throughout Montana territory. They were able to hire permanent help, including a young couple who lived in a small house Adam built on the far end of the property. This freed up Adam's time to spend more hours with his growing family. Sheriff Tom Beckett retired and moved into a small house in Lewiston, where Adam and Olivia visited him regularly with the children. Tom was officially Uncle Tom to the kids, and he loved spoiling them with candy and stories about the old days. Mrs. Porter remained a close friend, often staying with them for extended visits and helping Olivia with the children. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Adam and Olivia took a rare evening to themselves. Mrs. Porter watched the children while they rode out to the spot where the old house had stood. The foundation stones were still there, now overgrown with grass and wildflowers. They spread a blanket and sat together, watching the sunset paint the Montana sky in shades of orange and pink. "You ever regret it?" Olivia asked, leaning against Adam's shoulder. "Giving up your solitude, taking on a ready-made family?" Adam laughed. "Not for a single second. My life before you was not peaceful, Olivia. It was just empty. You filled it with purpose and joy and love. You gave me a reason to live instead of just survive." "You saved my life that night," Olivia said softly. "Not just from the cold, but from Marcus, from a future that would have destroyed me. You gave me safety and love and a family. You gave me everything." "We saved each other," Adam corrected gently. He turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. "I was dying inside before you came, even if I did not realize it. You brought me back to life." They made love as the stars came out, gentle and sweet and deeply connected. Afterward, they lay in each other's arms, talking about their dreams for the future. They wanted more children if they were blessed with them. They wanted to expand the ranch, maybe bring in some sheep to go with the cattle. They wanted to watch their children grow and have families of their own someday. "I never imagined I could have this," Olivia said, her voice full of wonder. "A real home, a loving husband, beautiful children. It feels like a fairy tale sometimes." "It is not a fairy tale," Adam said. "It is real life with all the work and worry and struggle that entails. But it is our life, and I would not trade it for anything." As Montana moved toward statehood, the territory saw many changes. More settlers arrived, bringing growth and prosperity. Lewiston expanded, adding new businesses and a proper school where Olivia sometimes helped out as a volunteer teacher. The railroad pushed through, making it easier to ship cattle to market and bringing more opportunities for the ranchers. Through it all, Adam and Olivia's love remained constant. They had their disagreements, of course, as all couples do. Adam could be stubborn and overprotective, while Olivia sometimes took on too much and wore herself out. But they had learned to communicate, to work through their problems together instead of letting them fester. They made each other better, stronger, more complete. When Tommy was 10 and Emma was 7, Olivia discovered she was pregnant again. This pregnancy was harder than the previous two, and the doctor advised her to take it easy. Adam hired more help around the house and insisted Olivia rest as much as possible, which she did not always appreciate but accepted for the sake of their unborn child. Their second son, Daniel James Ellis, was born on a snowy February morning. The birth was difficult, and for several terrifying hours, Adam feared he might lose both Olivia and the baby. But his wife was strong, and she fought through it with the same determination she brought to everything in life. When Adam finally got to hold his new son and see Olivia safe and recovering, he wept with relief and gratitude. The doctor told them afterward that Olivia should not have any more children, that another pregnancy could be dangerous for her health. It was disappointing, as they had hoped for a large family, but they accepted it. They had been blessed with 3 beautiful, healthy children, and that was more than enough. As the children grew, Adam made sure they learned everything he could teach them about ranching and survival. But he also encouraged their education, supporting Olivia's efforts to make sure they could read and write and do mathematics well. Tommy showed an early aptitude for working with horses and spent hours in the barn learning everything he could. Emma was artistic and loved to draw and paint, filling the house with her colorful creations. Daniel was still too young to show clear interests, but he was curious about everything and constantly getting into mischief. Adam often reflected on how different his life had become. The lonely, isolated man he had been seemed like a stranger now. He was part of a family, part of a community. He went to church on Sundays and town meetings when necessary. He had friends and responsibilities and a life full of purpose and meaning. All because he had opened his door to a freezing stranger on a winter night. When Tommy turned 16, he asked his father about finding his own way in the world. "I love the ranch," he said, "but I want to see more before I settle down. Maybe go to one of the cities, see what else is out there." Adam understood the urge, even if it pained him to think of his son leaving. "Your mother and I will support whatever you decide," he said. "But remember that this will always be your home, and you will always have a place here." Tommy did leave eventually, heading to Denver to work for a large cattle operation and learn different methods of ranching. But he wrote regularly and came home for important occasions. Emma showed interest in becoming a teacher like her mother, and Adam and Olivia saved money to send her to a teaching college when she was old enough. Daniel was still young but showed promise of being a rancher like his father. As Montana achieved statehood in 1889, Adam and Olivia celebrated along with everyone else in Lewiston. They attended the festivities in town with their children, watching parades and listening to speeches about the bright future ahead. Standing in the crowd with his arm around his wife and his children nearby, Adam felt a deep sense of contentment. Sheriff Tom passed away peacefully in his sleep when Adam was 48, and they buried him in the Lewiston Cemetery on a sunny spring day. Adam gave the eulogy, talking about Tom's integrity and courage and the debt he owed the old lawman. "He saved my life and my wife's life," Adam said, his voice thick with emotion. "Without him, none of this would have been possible. He was a true friend, and he will be deeply missed. As Adam and Olivia grew older, they began to step back from the day-to-day running of the ranch. Tommy had returned after 5 years away, bringing with him a wealth of knowledge and a determination to modernize their operation. He took over more of the responsibilities, allowing Adam to focus on the aspects of ranching he enjoyed most. Emma graduated from teaching college and got a position at the school in Lewiston, where she taught reading and arithmetic to young children. She met a young lawyer named Patrick who had recently moved to town, and after a year of courtship, they married in the same church where Adam and Olivia had exchanged vows. Watching his daughter walk down the aisle brought tears to Adam's eyes. Daniel followed in Tommy's footsteps, learning ranching from his father and older brother. He was more serious than Tommy had been at the same age, more methodical in his approach. Adam saw a lot of himself in his youngest son, and felt confident that the ranch would be in good hands when he and Olivia were gone. On their 25th wedding anniversary, Adam took Olivia on a trip to Denver, their first real vacation since their honeymoon had consisted of a single night in a hotel in Lewiston. They stayed in a fine hotel and ate in restaurants and saw plays at a real theater. It was wonderful and exciting, but by the end of the week, they were both eager to return home to Montana and the ranch. "I miss the quiet," Olivia confessed as they rode back toward Lewiston. "Is that strange? The city was exciting, but it was also exhausting." "Not strange at all," Adam said, smiling at her. "We are country people at heart. This is where we belong." As they crested the final hill and saw their ranch spread out below them, smoke rising from the chimney and horses grazing in the pasture, Adam felt a surge of deep satisfaction. He had built this, created something lasting and good. And he had done it all with Olivia by his side, his partner and companion and great love. They settled into a comfortable routine as the years passed. Adam was in his 50s now, his beard shot through with gray and his movements a bit slower than they once were. But he was still strong and capable, still doing a full day's work when needed. Olivia's dark hair had silvered at the temples, and fine lines had appeared around her eyes and mouth. But to Adam, she was as beautiful as the day he first saw her. They became grandparents when Tommy married a rancher's daughter from up north and had a son they named Adam after his grandfather. Emma and Patrick added to the family with twins, a boy and a girl. Daniel courted a school teacher from Helena and brought her home to meet his parents, clearly smitten. Sitting on their porch on warm summer evenings, watching the sun set over the mountains while grandchildren played in the yard, Adam sometimes thought about that cold January night so many years ago. A simple act of kindness, opening his door to a stranger, had led to all of this. Had led to love and family and a life richer than he had ever imagined possible. "What are you thinking about?" Olivia asked, reaching over to take his hand. After so many years together, she could read his moods and expressions perfectly. "About how lucky I am," Adam said simply. "About how one moment can change everything." "We were both lucky," Olivia said softly, "finding each other when we needed it most." They sat in comfortable silence, hands clasped, watching the day fade into night. The house behind them was full of the sounds of family, the next generation carrying on what they had built. The ranch stretched out around them, prosperous and well-maintained, ready to be passed down to their children and grandchildren. Adam thought about the man he had been before Olivia entered his life, isolated and purposeless, going through the motions without really living. She had saved him just as surely as he had saved her that frozen night. They had rescued each other and built something beautiful from the wreckage of their pasts. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Adam pulled Olivia closer, kissing her temple gently. "I love you," he murmured. "Then, now, and always." "I love you too," Olivia replied, resting her head on his shoulder. "My rancher, my hero, my heart." They remained there as night fell completely, wrapped in each other and in the life they had created together. The wind whispered through the grass, carrying the scent of sage and earth and home. Inside, their family continued their evening activities, secure in the knowledge that Adam and Olivia's love was the foundation on which everything else was built. Years continued to pass in their predictable rhythm. Adam and Olivia watched their children raise families of their own, watched their grandchildren grow from babies into young adults with dreams and ambitions. The ranch expanded under Tommy's leadership, incorporating new techniques and technologies while maintaining the core values Adam had instilled. When Adam turned 65, the family threw him a large birthday celebration. People came from all over Montana, friends and neighbors and business associates who had known Adam for decades. There were speeches and toasts, stories about his integrity and fairness, and the respect he had earned in the ranching community. But the moment Adam treasured most was when Olivia stood up to speak. 40 years ago, she said, her voice still strong despite her age. "I was lost and alone and terrified. I thought my life was over. Then this man opened his door to me and everything changed. He gave me safety and love and a family. He gave me a reason to believe in goodness again. Adam Ellis is the finest man I have ever known, and every day I thank God that I was lucky enough to become his wife." There was not a dry eye in the room when she finished, Adam's included. He stood and pulled her into his arms, holding her close as applause filled the barn where the party was being held. "You are my everything," he whispered into her ear. "Then, now, and always." As they entered their 70s, Adam and Olivia finally retired completely from ranch work, turning over all operations to their sons. They spent their days reading, working in Olivia's flower garden, and entertaining a steady stream of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Their love had not diminished with time. If anything, it had grown stronger, deeper, more essential. One evening in early autumn, Adam and Olivia sat together on their porch as they had countless times before. The air was crisp with the promise of coming winter, and the mountains in the distance were already dusted with snow. Adam held Olivia's hand, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her weathered skin. "You remember that first night?" he asked. "When I found you on my doorstep?" "Of course," Olivia said, smiling at the memory. "I thought I was going to die. Then this gruff stranger carried me inside and saved my life." "I was not that gruff," Adam protested, though his eyes were twinkling. "You barely spoke," Olivia reminded him. "You had forgotten how to talk to people after living alone for so long." "Maybe so," Adam admitted, "but you taught me how to live again, how to feel again. You were worth every word I had to relearn." They sat quietly for a while, watching the light fade from the sky. Their children and grandchildren were scattered across Montana now, living their own lives, but they visited often. The ranch was thriving, the Ellis name respected throughout the state. They had built something that would last long after they were gone. "I had a good life," Olivia said suddenly, and Adam looked at her with concern. "I mean, I am having a good life. But when I think about everything we have done together, everything we have built, I am just overwhelmed with gratitude." "Me too," Adam said, squeezing her hand gently. "Every single day." As the stars emerged one by one in the darkening sky, Adam thought about legacy and love, and the unexpected paths life sometimes takes. He had been a lawman who became a hermit who became a husband and father and grandfather. Each chapter of his life had led him to this moment, sitting with the woman he loved more than life itself. surrounded by the fruits of their shared labor. The freezing stranger who had collapsed on his doorstep all those years ago had become his reason to live, his purpose and passion. She had taken a lonely, isolated man and shown him what it meant to be truly alive. Together, they had created a family, a home, a legacy that would endure for generations. Adam Ellis had opened his door to someone in need without hesitation, never imagining that simple act of kindness would transform his entire existence. But that was the nature of love, he supposed. It arrived unexpectedly, changed everything, and made all the struggles and sorrows worthwhile. His life had meaning because of Olivia, and he would be forever grateful that fate had brought her to his door on that frozen winter night. As they rose to go inside for the evening, Adam took one last look at the ranch spread out before them, the land he had worked for decades, the home he had built with his own hands. But none of it meant anything compared to the woman walking beside him, her hand tucked into the crook of his arm. She was his true home, his heart, his everything. They closed the door behind them, shutting out the cold night air, and Adam knew that whatever time they had left, they would face it together as they had faced everything else. With love, with faith, and with the certainty that they had been blessed beyond measure to find each other in this vast and sometimes cruel world. Their story had begun with a knock on a door during a blizzard, and it would end with two hearts beating as one, intertwined forever in a love that had conquered fear, overcome hardship, and created something beautiful and enduring. And that, Adam thought as he pulled his wife close one more time, was the very best kind of happy ending.